Fact, Fox Bet Super 6 has already given away $1 million of Terry Bradshaw's money, and everyone has another chance to win $100,000 this Sunday. I'm still checking to see if you're eligible. Download the app, enter your 6 picks in the NFL Sunday Challenge. Fox Bet Super 6, giving away nearly $8 million to over 80,000 winners, so don't miss out.
Those are great-looking dogs.
They really are.
That's one of my favorite promos. Those are great-looking dogs.
Yeah, good call.
Thanks.
Hey, monster story here. This is great. Lions-Cowboys, Sunday at 1 in Dallas. Dak had his first padded practice since surgery last month. A little bit of a trap game here, Wilds is predicting. Joining us on set, real treat. 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, Nick Mangold is here. Welcome, Nick, but we're going to start with Brew. Brew, is this a must-win game for Dak and the Cowboys?
Look, practically, no, right? Because they'll still obviously be in the playoff hunt at 4-3. But philosophically, yes.
Oh, philosophically.
You see that?
Oh,
but you know, because
I know what you mean.
If they lose this game, if they lose this game, all that momentum they got over the last 5 weeks is gone. And the Philly loss didn't kill the momentum because it was Philly. They were undefeated. You weren't supposed to beat them with a backup. So they've got great momentum. If you lose to 1-4 Detroit, which has yet to win a road game under Dan Campbell, 0-11 on the road, at home, that kills your momentum. And then secondly, it re-sparks among some of the public. Obviously, Dallas coaches.
We're above it.
Well, yeah, we are, but we think it's Dak. But among some of the public, they will say, hey, Cooper Rush beat the Rams, he beat the Bengals, he beat the 5-1 Giants, and Dak, who scored 3 points against Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, lost to the Lions, the worst defense in the league. So it will spark all of that.
Yes, I completely agree with this, and that is my fear of rushing Dak back. Why are you rushing Dak back to play the Lions? When I think Cooper Rush could do that. He can play the Lions, and he can beat the Lions. Then you have the Bears, and then you have a bye week. Like, why not just let Dak get right and be fully healthy? Because the first padded practice is on a Thursday. Usually you're on Wednesday. And now going into a game, he hasn't played a game in 5 weeks. Like, that's a lot of rush.
So what makes you think they're rushing him back? As opposed to, like, to me, I felt like rushing him back would have been a week ago or certainly 2 weeks ago since they never put him on IR. What makes you think that that his thumb's not as healed as it's going to get?
I think it's a lack of practice. I think if they would have given him a week of practice, let him get back into it, let Cooper Rush deal with the Lions, and then you could start talking about, like, all right, he looks good in practice, let's get him out there. Right now, you're not really seeing what Dak has to offer when you know what you have in Cooper Rush.
So here's what I think is interesting about this game, because I think that people will freak out if they lose to the Lions.
Yeah.
And I don't think they should. I don't think the Lions are a bad team. So let me make the case the Lions are a touch underrated right now by the general public. So they play Philly, they lose by 3. They play Minnesota, they have Minnesota beat and they blow that game. They have the best offensive line, arguably, in football. Jared Goff's been sacked 7 times. They've spent money on that offensive line. They're coming off a bye, so that helps them. They're coming off, prior to the bye, their worst game of the year, which I actually think also helps them to a degree because they have a level of desperation. And when they looked so terrible against your Patriots, no DeAndre Swift, and Amon-Ra St. Brown was playing, but he was hampered. They're 2 best offensive players. I think Detroit is better than its record suggests, and I think Detroit, because Dallas, unless the offense becomes explosive, which it has not been yet all year, I know Dak hasn't been there, Dallas's way of winning football games is dominating you with their front 7. Detroit, the one thing they've shown this year is, except for that Patriot game, their offensive line's not going to get dominated.
Yep.
You're not going to get a bunch of quarterback hits, pressures, and turnovers on this team. So I think that in a weird way, it would be better for the Cowboys, the narrative surrounding the Cowboys, if the Lions were considered better than the general public considers them. I don't think they're a terrible football team, so I wouldn't be shocked at all if Dallas loses this game and people way overreact to it.
See, I think they could win too. They're second in yards per game. They got 411. They're the 3rd highest scoring offense. It's Chiefs, Bills, Lions, Eagles. It's just weird. That being said, if they lose, to see Dan Campbell and the Lions celebrating in Dallas, it's going to just be a bad visual, and people are going to get into it. So I still think they're going to put up points, which is my question to you, Nick. Micah Parsons been like the game wrecker, right? Mm-hmm. If you were playing I'm going to put you on the Lions in this case. You're playing for the Lions. Are you always aware of where Micah Parsons is? Like, what's your plan to kind of neutralize Micah Parsons?
Yeah, you definitely have to be aware, and I think that's a big key of the preparation. That's why I think the Lions, to your point, have a little bit of an advantage here. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this, coming off the bye. So now knowing, like, all right, when he's over here, this is what he's going to do. If he's lined up over here, this is what he's going to do. These things all play into it, and they're going to be laser focused on where he is so he doesn't wreck the game for him.
It sounds like I've got 3 guys on this desk picking the Lions.
Oh, well,
you guys are almost there.
I mean, I certainly like the Lions plus 7. I certainly like them plus the points. Can we stay on Micah Parsons for a second here, though? Because Wilds, off the air said, Nick, you call him generational, and then yesterday on the air I kind of tried to pump the brakes on it. Both of these things can be true. It can be true that Micah Parsons right now is the Defensive Player of the Year, and that Micah Parsons right now is being slightly overrated by the general media. So I look at like pass rushers, like great pass rushers, it's like steps. And Micah Parsons, we have put on the final step, the last boss, Lawrence Taylor. He's not Lawrence Taylor. He's not yet Derek Thomas, and he's not yet Von Miller. Right now, he's Julius Peppers, who's a Hall of Famer and an awesome player. Will be. I don't know if Julius is in yet. He's not eligible yet, I don't think, but he will be a Hall of Famer. 160 sacks something in his career. But the idea that every game Julius Peppers played, he wrecked, is not true. Just like the only guy that it was like, wow, I think every game he played he wrecked was Lawrence Taylor. He's not that. And the idea that every single week Micah Parsons is going to wreck the other team's game, yeah, if they don't account for him, they will. Or if you're Cincinnati and you don't have the personnel to block him, he will. The Lions have the personnel. To your point, they've had 2 weeks getting ready for this game. He's not catching anyone off guard. And I'm just curious, how good is the Dallas defense if it's not getting constant pressure on the other team's quarterback? We haven't really seen that circumstance, except for the Eagles game, I guess, because they have been getting constant pressure on the other team's quarterback. But now you have an offensive line almost as good as Philly's against a team that I think has an explosive running back in Swift. I think this is not going to be the Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence show that everyone seems to expect.
So if Parsons does wreck this game, though, knowing how good Detroit's line is, knowing they've had all that time to prepare for him, then what will you say about it?
I mean, then maybe he moves up to the Von Miller step. I mean, I still think Lawrence Taylor is...
Yeah, he's arguably the best player ever.
I would be hard-pressed to believe anyone's been like, oh, he's
right.
Well, I don't know. You don't hear that comp a lot? That he's the modern Lawrence Taylor?
Say it a lot,
I mean, I think people
I have said it.
Yeah, I mean,
not that he's as
but it's
good
not
as-
just Brew.
not he's as good,
I wouldn't
but
pick it on you, Brew.
he's
I mean,
just
it's
throwing it
what
out
people
there.
keep
Right.
throwing out
I
there.
say it about Matthew Judon a lot in meetings. You guys don't let me say it on air. But. Hey, coming up after the break, it's the game that we've all been waiting for. Tom Brady. We're talking about next. Sorry, I thought it was a different game, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, I thought it was...